If I had to ask you now to pick the moment in your life so far that has given you most satisfaction, that you've said, okay, this is the moment that I know that I nailed it, or this is what I lived for, what would that be?
I would like to say that the moment I became number one in the world, and I mean, it's a very hard choice to make because there were a lot of moments where I felt that, but I think that when you become number one in the world at what you do and what you've dreamt of all your life, I mean, I remember times when, you know, there were a lot of kids in my school, we used to play tennis. There was like 6 kids, I think, in my class alone, and we used to sit and talk, and I was always a little better than everybody else, you know, when I was playing. And I remember sitting and having conversations that, like, and we are writing those, you know, you used to get those notes that friends used to exchange with these friendship books. I don't know what they're even called.
Books.
Yeah, like slam books. And you used to write, what's your dream? And you're like, I want to be number one in the world at tennis. And all 6 girls used to write that, you know, and I used to write that too. And that's really a memory that flashed by me when that happened. So it is literally a dream that comes true for very, very few people, to being number one at what they do at anything, any career that they choose. So yeah, I would say that moment probably.
Nice. And you know, where you are right now, I keep thinking all that you've achieved, and I ask myself, can we have another Sania Mirza? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Do you have the answer to that? Can there be another Sania Mirza?
I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately, and I wish I had the answer to that, because I've been answering this question for the last 15 years at least. And unfortunately, I've been coming up with the same answer that, you know, I don't know. I hope it's the next girls in line, and then, you know, another generation goes by, and then another generation goes by, and I've seen 3 generations go by in my playing career of the last 21 years, where people have come and gone and retired, and, you know, I kept playing. It's a little bit like Rohan now, right? Like, so I don't know. And I do hope, though, that there is. I do hope that we can come up with a better answer to this, because I feel that for a girl today to achieve what I have achieved, I don't think that we can look at girls who are 25, 27, 28 today, because it's not going to happen. We realistically, that's just, they've passed their prime, right? Like, but the fact is that do we have kids who are 8, 10 years old today who are going to maybe make it? We're going to have to wait and watch, and we're going to have to do whatever it takes to try and help them in whatever our capacity is.
You know, if I ask you about, I'm asking about the future here, I have to also, you know, recently I think I saw one of your tweets where there was this ad that came up, and you said, you know, this is what I've been wanting to talk about. You know, why is it that people always ask women to settle, and why is it those are the questions that keep asking? I remember this because I know this is very close to your heart as well. If you could just speak about that, what that meant to you when you saw that advert, and what you were trying to say, because I know that's a message a lot of women would love to hear from you.
Rights and wrongs and do's and don'ts for women are a lot more than they are for men. And no matter what a woman is achieving in their career or whatever path they've chosen, I feel that in society they are truly considered as settled and really good to go only when they have that normalcy of society of being married and having kids. And there are many women who get married and don't want to have kids. There are many women that don't want to get married. Does that make them less settled? And if yes, then does the same thing happen for the man? Like, does that make him less settled if he's choosing the same thing? So these are questions that are so, they're very basic, you know, for you and I, but they're not as basic for the normal sort of society, because that's the society that we live in, and it's so deeply engraved in us that women are, these are certain things women are supposed to do in order for them to be like, you know, settled. Then I feel that if women like me, who are in this position where, you know, a few people are listening to us, or even like we have the platform to talk, regardless of whether somebody is listening or not, I feel like if we are also not speaking, then we have no chance. So I feel that a lot of young girls and women can resonate with that, when they see something that is so thought-provoking, because of the very fact that we go through it on a daily basis. We question, as soon as you're turning 24, 25, like, when you're going to get married, when you're going to get married, and then you're like, no, not yet. And they're like, oh, but like, all the good guys are going to go away, as if like that is the only achievement that there is in life. Like, what is a good guy? Like, I mean, what does that even mean, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, but this marriage, like, obsession we have also with men. I mean, Salman Khan has still asked when he's going to get married.
Exactly.
So it's not a woman issue, I don't think. This marriage thing is also like to do
like
with...
If they see someone single, they want that person to be
they just want
attached.
them to be married or with somebody. But then as women, it's more multiplied, and then you're like, okay, then what, like the minute you get married, they're like, so when you're going to have a kid? So they're not even taking into consideration that it could be a choice that you're not trying to have a kid.
Yeah.
Like that is a choice that maybe you don't want to have a kid right now, you want to have a kid after some time, and so what?
And if the answer is no kid yet, oh, I'm sorry. As if that's like a...
This came from your heart, looks like. So I just feel that, a lot of women today can resonate, and they don't actually, for me, the issue is not about being successful or working or whatever. For me, that's not the issue. For me, the issue is choice. So you can sit at home and be a homemaker and choose not to have a child, and that's okay, or choose not to be married. Like, what is the problem in that? Like, why is it that choice is questioned so much? And why is it that no matter what you're doing in life, you're always, asked that when are you going to settle? Like, what does it mean? So settle down basically means that you're going to stop what you're doing, get married, and then live your life, based around another person. Yeah. That's what settle down. What else does it mean? In true terms, that's the meaning of settling down.
Yeah. You mentioned your son, you mentioned Izhaan. I've been wanting to ask you, how has it been? How has motherhood been? Because we've seen that grow from far. Does he miss you every time you go away?
I don't think so, actually, to be very honest with you, because I tell him to talk on the phone and he's like, oh, like, can I talk to you later? But I think kids in general, are not really a phone-friendly sort of species. Like, I don't think they really understand, it's not registering.
You have a blessed kid then.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids love screen space. So.
No, I keep him very busy. So he gets like half an hour of his screen time a day, and that's the end of that. But mother has been great. Like, I think that it's evolved me in many ways. And I think that as athletes, we are pretty selfish as human beings, because that's the nature of our job. And if we are not selfish, I mean, there's no other career in the world or work in the world where you wake up and you're like, I want to be better, and I'm going to be better, and I'm the best, and like, I'm going to be the best. Like, it's a really egoistic profession, where you have to consciously make the effort of telling yourself that you're the best, and everything revolves around you, your food, what do you want to eat, when do you want to warm up, when do you want to practice, and then all of a sudden you have a child and nothing revolves around you anymore, and it gives you a huge and really needed reality check of life. And I think that if you're able to make that adjustment, you'll have a great relationship with your child. And for me, it came very naturally to put him first, and it came very naturally to keep putting him first in all situations. So for me, I know for a fact that I will never take a step in my life where I don't think that he will not benefit out of, or if something is going to bother or hurt him. Like, I will try not to take that step. Having said that, though, like, I think self-love is very important as well, and I think that's where I keep saying this to women, that giving birth and having a child is not the end of your life. It's the beginning of another life, and that does not mean that you just basically neglect yourself completely. So motherhood has evolved me in these ways. I think it's made me realize that, you can love another human being more than you love yourself sometimes, and I think that's a feeling that if you get to experience it, it's great.
Nice. And if I had to ask you, I mean, I know what you're saying, whatever motherhood has taught you. If you had to make sure, okay, this is the one thing that you want Izhaan to imbibe, this is the one thing that you would tell him, or you want him to be years down the line, what would that one thing be?
I think that one of the very important things for me is that to know that as a man, you are allowed to show and feel what you are actually feeling within your heart and not be labeled as weak. And I think that that's something that it's very important to me, because I think that over my life, in different experiences of my life, I've reached a stage where it's very important for me to be able to be honest with my emotions and with myself. And I think that as a boy, they are always told that they shouldn't be. They're always told that your strength lies in you not showing that emotion, especially in this part of the world, where they say, oh, if a man should keep it together, he must not cry, or a man should keep it together, he must not lose it. But I feel that if you're actually able to, and I do tell him this, I mean, he's very young, so I tell him in age appropriate ways, but I think that that is something that I will be very proud of, where he can have that empathy and emotion, because if you don't feel that empathy and emotion within yourself, you cannot feel it for another person. So you have to first have empathy towards yourself also. And I feel that, and the second most important thing is, that equality is something that is very important. So, he finishes his food, he has to take his plate and put it in the kitchen. I mean, it does not matter if we have staff at home. Basic things like that, which may sound which may sound like first world problems to some people, but these are real issues, and there are certain things, there are certain comments that sometimes happen, and sometimes he'll come and say that, no, I was playing football, she was not playing because she's a girl, and that is because what he's hearing around, and those things are very important for us to change. But having said that, I think that we are making progress, because there was this one time that he was playing something, and one of my cousins came and said, can I play? And then the person he was playing with said, no, you can't play, you're a girl, in a joke. They were playing at home, and and Izhaan said, and it was like a year and a half ago, and Izhaan said, yeah, but my mom was a world champion, like everybody can play. So the thing is, like, it's obviously, I think sometimes we feel, oh my God, they're so young, we can't tell them these things, but they're not, because their subconscious mind is working, and we need to imbibe this in them in order for him to become the man that he will be.
Wow, and he's watching you, and he's watching and learning, so that's how he's...
He is, and he gets very excited that sometimes when there's something coming on TV when I'm playing, and then like, he's a huge football fan, so he's like a Ronaldo fan, and the other day we were sitting and watching, there was a match going on, and then he was like, he will not sit for more than 2 minutes unless there's a football match going on. And he sat there for 90 minutes or whatever, 100 minutes. Wow. Because of everything. And he sat there, and he didn't go to school the next day because it was late, it was at 8 p.m. And my sister, and he said to my sister, he said, Ansiku, Ronaldo's the GOAT, he said. And so my sister said, your mom was the GOAT. He said, yeah, but she was a GOAT at tennis, he's a GOAT at football. So he's very aware that things like that do happen. And I feel that that is something that he'll carry forward with him in his life forward, with, the woman that he meets, and knowing that, every person is equal.
A couple of questions and we'll wrap it up. One, this fighting spirit that you have, where does that come from? I mean, we see it on the court, off the court. Where have you imbibed that from?
I think a lot has to do with the way I've been brought up by my parents. I think that I think it comes from a lot of confidence and knowing that no matter what happens, they'll be by my side. And I think that a lot of that fighting spirit comes from that, because you feel like, they've got my back, somebody's got my back. And whether it's my parents or my sister, I know for a fact that, in good or bad, they've got my back. And that's the way we've been raised, because we were a very small family. So I think that's where it comes from. And honestly, it comes from within. I think it comes from, and I think a lot of it comes from playing sport. I think sport teaches you how to fight. Sport teaches you how to be resilient. Sport teaches you to have dignity in failing, and sport teaches you to have, being humble in victory. So I think that is a lot of life lessons that I've learned from the sport that I chose to play. And that is why sport is such an important part of my life, and I make sure it is a part of, anyone that's close to me with kids and stuff, because it really gives you these life lessons that no education can give you. You can read 1,000 books, but there is no book that will teach you this, because it will not teach you how to fight the next day after you lose a tough match. It will not teach you that, you know, if you win a Grand Slam and then you go and lose first round in the next tournament, you're only as good as your last match. So all this stuff is to do with sport and sporting life lessons.
And lastly, of course, you know, everyone wants to, obviously everyone gets a piece of you, everyone wants a piece of you, and when you're speaking, Sania, obviously you're speaking to a lot of women as well, a lot of young women out there. If you could, what's your one message? Because you've lived, and there's much more life ahead of you, and you've lived such a colorful and a tough life. What's your message to everyone out there who's watching?
I think that we all have our own journeys, and I think that I would just like to say that first and foremost we have to embrace the fact that that's our own journey, and I feel that we can try to protect ourselves from, you know, the bad that may happen or may not happen, but life will pan out how it's going to pan out, and I think that accepting that is very, very important, because with the bad comes a lot of good as well. So I think that as a woman, really I think the most important thing is to know your worth, because I think that if you we talk so much about women empowerment, but we don't talk so much about how much women truly believe that they should be empowered, because they really first of all need to feel it within that they are equal. They need to feel it within that they should be treated with dignity. They need to feel it within that they need to be treated as a person with as much respect as you know, anybody else in their life. And I would like to tell women that you need to know your worth, because if you don't know your worth, nobody else will.
Thank you so much, Sania. It's always a pleasure. It's always nice speaking to you every time. And looking forward to seeing you again.
Soon.
Yes, very soon.